Hello learners. In this lecture, we will be studying planning. We will be covering the topics such as planning versus forecasting, types of planning, steps of planning, and the planning process. Planning versus forecasting. Forecasting is basis for planning, while planning is basis for future course of action. Forecasting is done at the middle and the lower level of management, whereas planning is done at the top level of management. No decision can be taken without the help of forecasting, while planning helps to arrive at certain decisions. Few members are involved in forecasting process, whereas large number of persons are involved in planning process. Forecasting is done by experts, whereas planning is done by any person. Forecasting is a tool for planning, while planning is not a tool for forecasting. Types of planning. There are four types of planning. Strategic planning. It includes long-range, broad goals. Tactical planning. It is done to implement a strategic plan, shorter term and more specific. Operational planning. It includes creating very specific policies and procedures. Contingency planning. It is alternative action for unusual and crisis situations. Strategic planning cycle. First of all, a mission needs to be developed. Strategic planning cycle begin by setting up a goal and thinking about the desired outcomes. Desired outcomes can be achieved by making the strategies, and then comes measures and the targets. Performance can be assessed by observing the results. Results can be improved by setting up the another goal. Tactical planning. Tactical planning is done when business decisions must be made promptly. When a strategic plan has been put in place and a team or business needs to determine the steps needed to reach the strategic plan's goal. When a diversion plan needs to be put in place to identify opportunities and prevent issues. When a business or team wants to realize results over the short term rather than the long term. Operational planning. Operational planning is what happens when a team or department draws from a company-wide strategic plan and puts it under a microscope. It's future-oriented, that is, it maps out department budgets and goals to propel the success of the strategic plan with specific, team-based activities for the next 1 to 3 years. Contingency planning. A contingency is a potential occurrence of a negative event in the future, such an economic recession, natural disaster, fraudulent activity, terrorist attack, or a pandemic. Although contingencies can be prepared for, the nature and scope of such negative events are typically unknowable in advance. Companies and investors plan for various contingencies through analysis and implementing protective measures. Steps in planning. Planning can be done by following the steps such as recognizing need for action, setting objectives, developing premises, identifying alternatives, examining alternate course of action, selecting the alternative, formulating supporting plan, and implementation of the plan. The planning process. Planning process includes setting objectives, developing planning premises, identifying alternative course of action, evaluating alternate course of action, selecting one best alternative, implementing the plan, and follow-up action.